You have to decide, is convenience more important to you or health? You are going to pay for this at some point, no matter what. You have to decide, do I want to do it now in a preventative way, or do I want to do it later whenever I'm scrambling and trying to buy myself time? So we all have a choice to make, and we all prioritize what is important. If it was me and my family, and it was my kids are going to eat organic or we have Netflix, I'm getting rid of Netflix.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to this show. My name is Josh Doyle, and you are listening to No Longer Nomads. We release episodes every Tuesday at 5 a.m. We've got incredible guests that talk about everything from parenting, marriage. We cover wild stories from people that have fled from the Middle East or from Somalia. We even had a North Korean defector on as well. But this show today, I'm exceptionally excited to bring it to you because we have Alex Clark on the program. She has a podcast called Culture Apothecary, and it is a fascinating podcast. I have learned more in that podcast than really a lot of other shows that I'll listen to in the health and wellness space. So really cool conversation about how can we make better decisions for our families, for our spouse, for ourselves, and how we can clean up, just our overall diet and our health in general. So this is a really good episode, and I'm stoked you're here. Thanks for checking it out. Well, Alex, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining No Longer Nomads.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to learn from you, and I know our audience would love to learn from you as well. So how did you start your podcast, and what kind of inspired you to do so?
Well, my podcast didn't start out as a health and wellness podcast. It started out as kind of like countercultural interviews and commentary on pop culture, and it was called The Spillover, and I did that for 3 years. And then it was last fall, actually, last September 2024 is when I decided to rebrand into being exclusively health and wellness. And then I changed the name of my show to Culture Apothecary. And that journey really started for me because during the pandemic, I started to become very interested in health and wellness, with the mandating of the certain medical product that they said we had to get. When that happened, that kind of opened my eyes to a lot of corruption in food and pharma. And I had never, ever spent time diving into that before. And so the more I learned, the more disturbed I was. And I grew up politically conservative, and in conservative circles, we never talked about things like organic food or GMOs. It was really like seen as an infringement on freedom of choice to be talking about these things and like what food you should or shouldn't eat. That was like very hush-hush in conservative circles. And so I didn't grow up caring about that or thinking it was important to care about that, even though I was really passionate about other political issues. But when it came to food and pharma, that was like the one thing as a conservative I really did trust the government on. I just thought, well, food, what drugs are safe? Well, surely there's tons and tons of rigorous, hoops that you have to go through to make sure things are safe and healthy. Had no idea that those entire industries were bought and paid for by the companies that they were allegedly supposed to be regulating. So super scary, spooky stuff, honestly. Started to talk about that with my audience. My interviews started to reflect that I was interested in this subject matter. And very slowly, I kind of transitioned to like a health and wellness podcast like a year and a half before the official rebrand. So now the show talks about, every episode covers either physical, emotional, or spiritual health. So it's going to fall into one of those categories. So it could be parenting, it could be, theology, or it could be literally about, food. So
Sure.
Any episode I do kind of falls into one of those three things.
I love that. Well, and I'm such a fan of what you do, and I love your show and the rebrand, all of that. It is so well done. And so when I was doing the pre-roll earlier, I was like, man, I have learned so much from you in your show, and just has taken me down different trails. I'm going, man, I should probably be better about this. I should probably be better about what my kids eat. In fact, one of the guests you had on had a topic about the red dye that's in our food, or dye that's in our food. We watched that documentary and just changed the way we give our kids food. So that's cool. How did your audience react when you shifted into more of the health and wellness space?
Some of them loved it because they were kind of going through the same transformation as me and like the same aha moment of, oh, wow, there's something really wrong with food in America. There's something really wrong with how captured the FDA is by the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
These are all things that like not enough people are talking about. So they were on board. And then of course, the pushback that I get is going to be from people in my audience that are like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. This is, too much information. I don't know what to do. Everything I do is wrong. And, my response to that is like, look, I interview so many people with so many different opinions. Some of them contradict each other, absolutely. And so, as a listener, and I don't know if you ever get stuff like this with people you have on your show, but I'm like, as a listener, you take the meat and spit out the bones. You listen to each episode. If there is something that applies to your life and that can help you, great. If not, okay, well, then you were entertained and you learned something that maybe doesn't apply to you, but could help somebody else. And so, I'm not having every guest on as some kind of like beat you over the head. Everything every guest says is what you have to do. I am just providing you free information. You do with that what you will.
I love that. Yeah. And really, you want to honor your guests too. Like I have heard some stories. We were talking about this a bit on pre-roll, just some horror stories of folks going on. And I would feel terrible going on a show and just second guessing myself. And, am I even welcome here? Will they even enjoy what I'm sharing? So yeah, I love that. And I listen to other shows where they say, hey, we don't agree with every single thing this person is saying, but you can filter that as you will. So were you always healthy, Alex, or what got you said pandemic, really, you started kind of peeking under some rocks there. Were you always healthy growing up, or what was your life like before this?
Oh, before this, I was anything but healthy. I had Dr. Pepper running through my veins. I was the self-proclaimed chicken nugget princess. I was frequently doing like partnerships with McDonald's and stuff like that. I mean, I was
amazing.
Living off ultra-processed food. I didn't know how to cook until the pandemic. When I would go grocery shopping, everything I bought was frozen, boxed, or bagged. I had no idea what to do with like, a bunch of asparagus or something. I had no clue. So what I had done, and this is not sponsored, I've never worked with them. And in fact, I would recommend not using them because I do not agree with all the ingredients that they use now. But what helped me get started cooking during the pandemic was I was like, well, I'm bored. I'm like, can't even go out to eat really. So maybe I should learn how to cook. Well, the least intimidating way to do that was one of those box subscriptions. I chose one of those because they had pictures with each step. And I thought this is the easiest way for me to learn how to cook and follow along. So I started doing that. And then I graduated into like actual recipes without pictures and, Googling recipes and getting cookbooks and all of that. And so I gained confidence. So that was like a huge godsend. And then when you start making your own recipes, you're understanding more like, okay, what's going into my food? Where is my food actually coming from? You're starting to like pick up on those things. And so I was starting to ask myself those types of questions and finding out, it's super weird that most of the meat in the grocery store is not coming from America. Yeah. It's super weird that only a handful of food companies control all of the food in our food supply. It's weird that there are patented seeds and farmers can only grow certain things. All of that was like really weird to me that I had never known before. And so I started to really care about where our food comes from. And I was like, man, this is like the most ironic thing in my life. I would never say that the left was right about anything, but I think when it comes to knowing and caring about your food and where it comes from and regenerative organic farming processes and all of that, they were right. It was California that was drinking raw milk before anyone else.
Right.
It's
and do you remember hearing that big, do you want raw milk or cashew milk? It's like, what? I mean, I've never even, that's funny. So yeah, I love that. It's a shift for you and going, oh, okay, maybe there's some stuff interesting. Well, I would love to ask this. Sorry to cut you off. Keep going though. You're going to keep saying something?
Well, I was just going to say that, it's funny to me that now when the mainstream media writes articles about me, and usually they're slamming me. They say that I'm like a radical extremist because I talk about things like raw milk or hormonal birth control not being great for women, okay? It was never conservative Christian, people that were talking about this before. It was always the crunchy granola, Hollywood celebrities that were not vaccinating their kids, that were feeding them raw milk. And it was liberal feminist women in the 70s who went to a Senate hearing and protested, saying there's something going on with this birth control you've been giving us. You told us that this was going to make us equal to men. You told us this was going to level up our life. And I have never been so sick. You need to start putting warnings with the pill because something's going on and we're all like really, really in dire straits here.
Right.
And we don't know what's going on with the pill and like the side effects of this. And it was because of those feminist liberal women in the 70s that women now have a birth control insert that says all the side effects and dangers of the pill. So if those women wouldn't have said anything, we wouldn't even have that. But it wasn't conservatives like me. It wasn't Christians like me who were bringing these problems to mainstream attention. It was the left. So it's kind of been this crazy topsy-turvy switch. The left or the liberal side, what you've historically known it as, is really completely opposite now. It's really the right that cares about, medical freedom and food freedom and no wars. It's bizarre.
That is really interesting. Have you felt like there are some on the left that accept you and accepts, you're wanting to check under what we're getting fed and where food's coming from? Are there still some leftists that are accepting you or?
Yeah, I mean, there's some that just like absolutely loathe me just because I'm conservative. They refuse to admit that I'm right about anything. But then you also get the people that are, I would say, more classical liberal who still believe in things like free speech. And they're like, okay, I obviously hate all of Alex's political views. We disagree on abortion, et cetera. But I love her podcast. I love the guests that she has on. I mean, honestly, my podcast isn't that political. Like, I barely get into politics. Once in a while, I'll have a guest that's more political or something like that. I've done like a pro-life episode, but for the most part, it's all nonpartisan health advice. So, most anyone can listen and enjoy my show.
What's been the most shocking thing that you've discovered, with this journey, whether it's food, how we get it? What's been something that's like, golly, we have got to open our eyes here?
How little the childhood schedule has been tested before.
And how much, I've got 3 little guys.
Yeah.
And just all the shots have doubled, right? I mean, you probably know more about that, but.
We're now looking at over 70 shots recommended
that's right.
from 0 to 18 years old for an individual child. And when you dive into it, I mean, there are certain medical products. I'm trying to be careful about the words I'm saying because I don't know if this is on YouTube or what, but there's certain medical products that, were only tested for a few days or a few months or a few weeks. You think they're studying this for years to see the effects on people, et cetera. No. I mean, it is so mind-blowing. And what's really, really freaky, I would say most people now are in agreement that, okay, we didn't know enough about the COVID medical product. We didn't know enough about that. That was really fast on the schedule. We needed more time, et cetera. But that was actually the most rigorously tested medical product in modern history. So that, when you find that out, that really puts in perspective how much more work needs to be done. Testing these, making sure all 70 plus of these, really should be there. Are they really recommended? Is it really necessary for some of these to be given within the first day of life? Is it something that could be optional as an adult if you want it? Does it have to be within day one? When people complain about this, I'm like, why? If you believe that these are so thoroughly tested, that there's no questions, that these are amazing, that they're, one of the best modern medical advancements in history, why would you care then for us to double, triple check it and make sure? Why would you have a problem with that? If you're all for the science and you want gold star science, why would you have a problem with us wanting to, double check? And that's all that's happening.
That's so awesome. Do you know how it's been received? And I mean, there's pushback on everything. Do you know how it's been received with him?
Well, so far, I mean, we've only been in, about 100 days, and we have announced that we're going to be creating more rigorous standards for our baby formula in America, which is terrible. There's more sugar in baby formula than a can of Coke, which is, still a lot for an adult.
Man. There's
industrial seed oils and all kinds of corn syrup and all kinds of terrible things in baby formula. So that they're looking into. I think they're calling it Operation Stork Speed or something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then obviously we just announced that we're officially banning artificial food dye from the United States food supply entirely. A lot of states had already started doing that. We had like 24 states that were either banning ultra processed food from school lunches, banning soda off of SNAP, or saying that we're going to be getting rid of artificial dyes in our state completely. So now we're just making the artificial dye a nationwide ban, which is super fantastic. We have enough science proving that those are, possibly carcinogenic, that they majorly adversely affect child behavior, worsen symptoms of autism, ADHD. Those are things that we know. So why in the world would those be in our food supply? Because they're not necessary at all. That's the thing. You don't need that. They bring no nutritional value. They only bring color. And you can get color just fine with things like turmeric or beet powder, things like that.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I know a lot of other countries will have the same cereal and it's completely different colored. And they just don't use a lot of the dyes we use. So why do you think that is? Do you have any clue why you think that would be?
Greed, money. They're able to get away with it in America. It's cheaper. It's more colorful. Of course, a child is going to look at a paler colored Fruit Loop and a brightly neon colored Fruit Loop and pick the brightly colored one. I mean, look at like a child picking Cocoa Melon versus Little Bear. Both, Little Bear's a fantastic show, but Cocoa Melon, bright, fast, all these things. Like a kid's going to choose that. They're going to choose crack cocaine if we're giving them the option. So, they just saw that and said like, well, there's nothing wrong with this. We're going to keep doing it. Even though they were making a separate batch in America for other countries that didn't include all of those ingredients for kids everywhere else.
Insane.
So yeah, it was evil stuff. And I protested at Kellogg's headquarters back in October with people like Food Babe, Callie Means. We went there, we protested. Kellogg's refused to meet with us. They refused to remove the dyes at that moment. We had thousands of moms and children with us, children holding signs that said, please stop poisoning our cereal. They didn't care. The Kellogg's employees held up a sign in their office windows that said, get off our lawn. So these are people that just truly didn't care until they were forced to care, which is RFK saying, you're either going to start to remove these dyes or we're going to make you do it.
Golly. Well, this is interesting. So last summer, my dad was having some abdomen pain and just got worse and worse. And he just thought, man, I don't know if something's wrong. And so he went in, they had no idea what was going on. And then they finally found out that it was stage 4 aggressive rare bladder and prostate cancer. And so I don't know if you have any family members or friends that have battled, a cancer, gone on a cancer journey, but you think it's going to happen to someone else. And in my family, we were not expecting it. I'm 5 of 6 kids. So we have a big family, all got kids. It's just like, and we're tight, and so we find out that it's cancer. And so we're praying, oh man, hopefully it's nothing aggressive, nothing crazy. Then we find out it's stage 4, super rare. And there's less than 100 cases in the US a year. And so one doctor up here in Dallas actually said, you have a year or less to live. And so, I mean, I'm super tight with my dad, and it was just like, this is brutal. I mean, my son's birthday came up that August, and I thought he came to it, and I thought he may not be here for the next one. And it was horrible to think about. And so what was really interesting was he did chemo, immunotherapy, but really started to clean up his diet. And so my mom, she tracked everything, every single thing he did, all the foods he did. They got rid of plastic and, cleaned up their deodorant and toothpaste, and they use alkaline water, everything that you can think of. And so what was so interesting, they went all organic, grass fed, they also did, they started growing, it's like broccoli sprouts. It's supposed to be 200 to 400, more time, all this, of course, but just more, it fights cancer more aggressively, 200 to 400 times more than broccoli, which was interesting. But anyway, so fast forward 3 months later, this cancer, Alex, was in, it was aggressive. It was in his bones. It was like lymph nodes were messed up. Everything was it was like, this is not good. Like we were looking at it as a family going, this is not going to end well. He completely changed his diet. He went on ivermectin. He went on another holistic medicine. And what was crazy, within 3 months, tumors, everything shrunk by half.
No way.
It was crazy. And then by Christmas, the prayer for the family, and so we do a lot of work in the Middle East, and we have stuff we do over there. And so we had our prayer team over there praying every time we send out a text. Hey, he's going to the doctor's office, and we're praying for this, and we'd send out a text, and just within a few minutes, it felt like the whole world was just praying over him. It was incredible. So it was just about Christmas time, few weeks before, and he goes in to get a scan, and we just prayed, hey, it'd be an absolute miracle if there was no evidence of disease, no cancer at all. And so he stayed with this plan, completely had a healthy diet, changed everything, lifestyle. He went in, got scanned, and sure enough, no evidence of disease anywhere. Lymph nodes back to the same shape. Bone looked fine, completely fine. I mean, everything he had been, and actually a lot of the holistic approach, he didn't tell the doctor. I say all this because I never really worried too much about my health journey. I mean, you could find me in a Taco Bell line and I would still be there. My wife would be, she doesn't like that. But anyways, the reason I bring that up is like, there's just so many people out there that they're just kind of floating around and just don't really know what they're eating. So anyways,
well, first of all,
praise
God. I love hearing that. And I am so happy for your family. And so, there's so many things I want to say. So my dad also had cancer last year. He was diagnosed with glioblastoma in January of 2024. He died in December. And he also had heart failure. He had all these problems going on. Glioblastoma is a brain tumor. So my dad had showed signs. He had gotten type 2 diabetes. He had 2 heart attacks, starting slowly, like in his late 30s and into 40s, 50s, and then, finally passed away at 57. And food is medicine. And I kept trying to tell my dad, which we were a little late. I didn't know all this, that I know now till like 3 years ago. So he was still very, very in bad shape by then. But so I wish I would have known, 10 years ago what I know now. But like, I was telling my dad in the last year, you could buy a few months, you could buy a little bit of time if you will just change what you're eating. He refused. And what people don't understand is that ultra processed food is an addiction. It is an addiction just like alcohol. It is an addiction just like drugs. It is, more addictive than heroin in some cases, the sugar and the chemicals that they're putting in the stuff. There is a reason why when I mention, Raising Cane's or Chick-fil-A, you immediately know what it tastes like. It has been engineered like that to hijack your brain and crave it, that just mere mentioning it, you know what it tastes like in your mouth. So my dad had his brain tumor removed, and then we're leaving the hospital after that surgery, and he's asking us please take me to Chick-fil-A, and then a few hours later, please take me to Pizza Hut. And I was begging him, crying, please, I'll make you the same things, I'll make it healthier, homemade, and he refused. But the fact that your dad, this is so huge for people listening. We can reverse and prevent chronic disease, fatal disease with our diet and lifestyle. It is the coolest, most powerful thing that we have. What I learned when you asked me, what is some of the craziest stuff that you've learned doing the show?
Yeah.
The craziest thing that I learned is that cancer is epigenetics. Cancer is totally a metabolic disease. It is all about what you're eating and what you're doing. It is not something that just happens to people. It is not a mystery. It's genetic. We don't know how this happens. It is always, maybe you have some genetics where it's you might be a risk factor, but it is your environment and your diet that's pulling the trigger. And so knowing that, my dad's doctor was trying to tell my brother and I, well, you need to get tested to see if you have some gene for brain tumors. And now I'm that's BS. I know that that's not true, and I'm not worried about it because of how I eat and the way I live my life now. But that is so cool about your dad and such a cool testimony. And, I just want to encourage you guys as a family to encourage him and keep that up and be on the same journey with him, filtered water, no microplastics as much as possible, and using things like red light therapy. Huge.
Yeah, what is that? I mean, I've seen that all over, and I think one of my sisters does it, but it is kind of new-ish.
I don't know how new it is. I think it's trendy in that people are starting to really talk about it, but every single expert that I've had on my show has been like red light therapy, future of modern medicine. It does everything. It helps with inflammation in the body. You know, cancer is fueling off being inflamed. It's helping lessen inflammation. It helps with joint pain. It helps hair regrowth. It helps with skin lesions. It helps gut health, sleep. Like basically it does everything. It's so good for you using red and near infrared light. So I would invest in a good red light therapy, and all you have to do is sit in front of that thing for 10 minutes a day, literally 10 minutes a day. You can do it at night is a great time before bed because you're helping your eyes, wind down and things from all the blue light around you and all of that.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say, speaking of light, I just interviewed this guy. Phenomenal interview. Phenomenal. One of my favorites of the year. It's all about your circadian rhythm. And he goes into this.
Nice.
I'm not the expert. I interview the experts.
Right.
But he goes into how like your risk of cancer is cut in half by just making sure every single morning without fail, you wake up and go outside and watch the sunrise, and that you are outside during the sunset. If you are outside at those times of the day and getting your circadian rhythm in check, and you are going to bed, around sunset, and then you are waking up with sunrise, he's like, your like risk of chronic disease goes down exponentially. And this is how people like beat cancer and all this stuff. So seeing if your dad will be willing to like maybe go to bed earlier and wake up earlier and start having a optimal light diet and turning off all big artificial light, making sure that you're getting rid of LED light bulbs in the house, that you're only using incandescent bulbs or fire at night. So if you're in Texas, then, I know fires at night probably won't be a thing, but like lighting beeswax candles and stuff instead of having a bunch of big lights on, it will help everybody in your house, your kids and everybody sleep better, sounder. Beeswax candles purify your air. So yeah, there's so much. And like, that's what's so fun about my show is I'm learning this. Like I didn't know any of that till like 2 days ago. So I'm learning all of this at the same rate as my audience, and I'm not the expert. I'm just asking the experts questions. So, and it's all for free, which is really fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so good. Well, and that's how
rhythm.
Yes, so I saw a clip on that, and I think he even mentioned something about sunglasses, and I've been seeing that all over the place. How most people that are smart know what they're doing, they don't wear sunglasses. But he had an interesting point. I saw a clip that you had posted about that, where he says your eyes really do adjust well if you're seeing, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're up early enough to when the sun is rising or something like that.
Yeah, he was saying like people that have really sensitive eyes and like every time they go outside, they're like, oh my gosh, I need sunglasses. I can't even open my eyes or whatever. Like try waking up and going outside during the sunrise and you will stop needing sunglasses, and that your eyes will stop being so sensitive.
Wow. Well, I should say, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. That is awful. And it's so hard. I mean, you never know. I will say this. So we went in February for a scan, and they said either we missed a spot, but it's a little tiny thing contained. And so he went in for a session 2 weeks ago. Didn't go in last week because he's having vision stuff now. And so, I mean, but they're like, hey, if this was a patient that came in, we would be thankful that it's contained. And so we're at least thankful that it's not all over the place. Anyway, so he's still on his journey. And
here's a girl that lives in Dallas. She's a dear friend of mine, and I've also interviewed her on the show, who cured her brain tumor holistically. Her name is Taylor Dukes, and she lives in the Fort Worth area.
Really?
And she has so many good resources about places in Dallas, Fort Worth that help with like integrative medicine for cancer treatment, different special like hyperbaric chambers and all that kind of stuff that he should be doing. And she has a lot of great tips for that. And she totally beat her brain tumor.
That'd be amazing.
So, yeah,
absolutely. Would love to make that connection. So, well, I'm like you. I am no expert, and so I started this because, I'm a new-ish dad. My oldest is 6. We've got 3 boys. Youngest is 2, and life is crazy. So I love it, but also I didn't realize how brutally hard parenting would be. So we love having on experts that can help guide us through. There may be a few steps ahead of us, and so I'm totally like you. Half the people I have on, I'm like, I'm no expert here, but I would love to learn from you. So like you said, I'm on the journey as well. So with this episode, same thing, but I would love to ask you this. So for those listening, they go, man, it just seems overwhelming. Let's take food, for example. It's overwhelming. Where do I start to clean up my diet? What do you tell people? What's the first step to really just to clean up? Maybe I won't go 0 to 60, but what's one step that can help me improve?
Okay. Oh, there's so many things. I mean, could I give like 3 things to start?
Sure. Yeah. 3 things.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Like 3 simple things. Number 1, for 90 days, because every good habit is basically hatched within 90 days. For 90 days, I want you to commit to not eating out at all and no ultra-processed food. Cooking meals at home, packing a lunch for work, packing your kids' lunches, nothing packaged, nothing boxed. I mean, noodles in a box is different. You know what I mean by goldfish crackers versus like noodles or something. But commit to no ultra-processed food, no fast food, no eating out. Then I want you to commit to absolutely filtered water only, no tap water, bottled water, filtered water. And then focus on learning about one ingredient. So if you say, I want to learn everything there is to know about seed oils. I want to be able to recognize it on an ingredient label. I want to be able to spot it at the grocery store. One, if you're not eating any ultra processed food at all, you're going to be able to basically almost entirely avoid seed oils because that's in ultra processed food. So that's a hack. But, learn about what those are, get familiar with them. And then you'll be like, okay, I totally know how to spot seed oils. It's very easy for me to see. Canola oil, rapeseed oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, rapeseed, vegetable oil. You notice that on the label and you're like, okay, well, I'm not eating this because it has seed oils in it. When you become an expert on that, you're going to move on to things like artificial dyes. Then you're going to move into all the, 8 different names or whatever it is now for sugar. We're going to avoid all of that. Ultra processed refined sugar. Those are things that you want to avoid. So getting to be an expert on the ingredients, and you can pick one ingredient at a time. And then, okay, so 4 things actually. The other thing I want you to do is change all of the cleaning supplies in your house. So
okay. What cleaning supplies? So non-toxic chemical. Like, what would you say there? What would you suggest?
So you're going to throw away your Windex. You're going to throw away your Rage. You're going to throw away your fragranced all-purpose cleaner. Your laundry detergent, your dishwasher detergent, your hand soap, basically all of those types of things, your bathtub cleaner, your toilet scrub, and you're going to switch to completely non-toxic products. Now, there's many great brands out there. One that I really like, and they're sponsored by show, full disclosure, I'm not even gonna front, but because I think they're the best. Branch Basics sells one product that does it all. It's one product. It's called the concentrate. You can use it on everything. You can use it to wipe your eye makeup off, to the floors in your house, your laundry, your patio furniture, your countertops, your toilets, your pet throw up, whatever.
Yeah.
Everything. Okay.
Wow.
So that's what I like, because people are like, well, this is expensive to replace all of these 50 things. You're going to have so much more space under your kitchen cabinet and save money because you're only buying one thing. So I recommend Branch Basics. If you want to go to my stuff, you can find a code. I think it's Alex15, but it is the best that I found completely plant-based, non-toxic. The reason why I say your cleaning supplies is because it touches everything in your home, and you are absorbing it in every single way. You are eating it when you are, eating off your dishes, whatever dishwasher detergent you're using. You are wearing it. It's being absorbed through your skin based on the laundry detergent you're using. Your children, your pets crawling on the floor, dropping things on the floor, putting their hands in their mouth.
Yep.
They're ingesting all of those chemicals and the artificial fragrance. Your home should not smell clean after you clean it. It should smell like nothing. If you have your house cleaned and you come in, you're like, wow, I smell the clean. They're using artificial fragrance, which are endocrine disruptors, and they are toxic to your health. So it shouldn't smell like anything. When my cleaning lady cleans my house and I come home, it smells like nothing when I come in. It looks clean, but it smells like nothing. That is how it should be, because she's just using all my Branch Basics everywhere. So anyway, those are my 4 things that I would start with. And then if you want to get more involved in that, you can always DM me on Instagram at RealAlexPark. I'm happy to answer. I answer all my DMs, and listen to my show. And there's basically an individual episode about all these different things.
So good. I love that. So practical. I'm all about practicality. So, man, there's so many ways I want to take this. I'd love to talk about influencers at some point, are some of them pointing us in the right direction? Are some of them, pointing us to the newest fad? I'd love to talk about that, but I'd also really what's really interesting to me is just that connection between food and how it can affect kids. So much is linked to behavior. So much is linked to even autism, like some of these studies that come out with shots, like we listed, there's over 70 now, which is crazy. But I will defer to you. Do you want to talk about the influencers, like just the realm of, hey, this is where you got to go. We're leading the charge into this wellness space. Because from the outside, it can be so daunting, and I'm not in it, but it can be daunting to try to go, where do we go with all this? And who's pointing us to the right direction? I think I saw a study once, Alex, it was like, water is bad for you. It's like, water's bad for you? What else is, like, everything's bad for us. So
tap water is bad for you, but otherwise, water.
But when I saw that headline, I was like, oh my goodness, so we're not allowed to drink water now. Shoot. But anyways, wherever you want to take this, I'd love to go.
Sure. Okay. There's so much I could say. So one, let's do the influencer part, because I think that's super important, because I understand the overwhelm of information and the information fatigue that a lot of people have in the wellness space. First of all, I want you to just take a deep breath and remember that the best things you can do for your health are free. It's waking up with the sunrise, like I told you. It's getting optimal sleep. It's having community, friendships outside of the internet, outside of your phone. It's going out, having people to hold you accountable and be there for you, a shoulder to lean on.
Yeah.
It's, it's breathing clean air. It's going outdoors. It's like things like that, touching your feet on grass. I mean, a lot of outdoor stuff. Those are all things that are free to us. Drinking water, very inexpensive. So eating real food even. So just eating real food. So people are like, well, this is expensive to buy all organic. Look, buying all organic, grass-fed, grass-finished meat, that is the top tier, absolutely. If you can afford to do that, you should be doing it. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But if you are really penny pinching and your family is struggling, it is still better to eat non-organic, real food like eggs, ground beef, chicken, beans, rice, green beans, apples, oranges, than it is to eat Hot Pockets and chips and Doritos and all of that, and Oreos. Yeah. The ultra-processed foods honestly cost 10 times more. It is so expensive for a family of four to go to Chick-fil-A.
Oh, it's
versus
crazy.
Cooking at home. You can get a rotisserie chicken for like $9 or whatever, a whole chicken that can feed your family for days. You can use the bones to make bone broth. You can do all kinds of stuff. It is as complicated as you want to make it. The gadgets, like a red light therapy device and all those things, those are extras. Those are extras. It isn't necessary. It's still great effects on you to be, like I said, waking up with the sun and all that. But if you want to do red light therapy, that's really good too. So it's like the bare minimum that you need to be doing is basically free or close to it. In Aldi, you can get amazing organic products and grass-fed meat at Aldi. You can get organic produce at Walmart. They're the largest provider of organic produce in America. So, going to your local farmer's market, you'll get a lot of good deals on produce and meat and stuff like that. So there are options for you. People just, I feel like, would rather focus on the god of convenience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that really is making it so you're not prioritizing your health. You have to decide, is convenience more important to you or health? Is spending, and then if you do want to buy all organic, okay, then yeah, it is going to cost you a little bit more in your groceries. But is that worth paying that price now, or do you want to pay it like when you're, sicker and being diagnosed with cancer, whatever, like what happened to your dad or my dad? It's you are going to pay for this at some point, no matter what. You have to decide, do I want to do it now in a preventative way, or do I want to do it later whenever I'm scrambling and trying to buy myself time? So we all have a choice to make, and we all prioritize what is important. If it was me and my family, and it was my kids are going to eat organic or we have Netflix, I'm getting rid of Netflix. That's my priority. Maybe for another family, it's more important for us to have Netflix. Okay, well then that's the choice you make. But I think we all have to kind of have that like come to Jesus moment and really sit down with pen to paper and think about our priorities. One thing when it comes to influencers and stuff is I would say, of course, I have different companies I work with and brands and all that. I would say almost all of the ones that I work with, I have been with for like 4 years now plus. They've been long-term relationships with me. I believe in them. They believe in me. They're longtime friends of the show. We share all the same values. If I do switch brands, it's like after a contract runs out or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like if you are following an influencer where every single week, for example, they're telling you to buy meat from a different place, I would be questioning their integrity. If you are following an influencer where just every single thing is an ad, they never even post anything and recommend stuff that they're not sponsored by, I would be weary of them. I try to do that is like post things like, I get no kickback from this, but I'm going to recommend this company or this product because I think it's wonderful, fantastic. That happens all the time. And sometimes those companies will then reach out and be like, oh, well, we'll work with you. But, it's a good mix and match of that. And I would say, does this person really seem to be practicing what they preach? Are they living a healthy lifestyle? Are they only shilling products, or are they also showing me like a day in the life? Like, what are you doing? What are you eating? Are they talking about that? Like, that's all really important as well.
I'm learning a lot here. So if your listeners are like jumping over to this episode, they make, man, this guy we're so far past this. He's at like square one. But anyways, this may be a softball question, but are there myths out there that families believe, hey, this is actually something healthy that we're putting in our kids' diet? Are you starting to see people wake up more?
Ooh. I would be weary of applesauce squeezy packets. Squeezable pouches. A lot of those are infiltrated with tons of sugar or even heavy metals. So I would just be weary about the packet. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We use them.
Yeah. So I would look into those and look into the brands and are they third-party testing for heavy metals and things like that. I would just look into that or send an email to the company, be like, can you tell me about this? What kind of testing have you done? And then I would say something that all of us think is healthy that just, on default is floss. People don't think about dental floss. Dental floss is also if you're getting conventional floss at the store, it's also forever chemicals. It's oil byproduct. And so you're basically just like taking plastic and you're putting it right into your gums, into your bloodstream. And so that is a sneaky way that we're getting infiltrated with plastic.
Crazy.
Yeah. Allergy medicine. People don't think about allergy medicine. A lot of your medicines over the counter have artificial dyes in them. So, I wouldn't give my kid Tylenol anyway, but if you are going to be giving someone in your family something like Tylenol, for example, or Benadryl or whatever, see if it has artificial dye. A company I'm not sponsored by that I really like that has clean alternatives for over-the-counter medicine, if you have to have it in an absolute emergency, is Genexa. They make great medicine for adults and kids that does not use any of those chemicals and artificial dyes and stuff like that if you absolutely have to take an acetaminophen, for example.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then, things that people think are healthy. They think that things like whole wheat goldfish over regular goldfish, well, that's healthier. It's whole wheat. It is the same crap. I would also say, basically, all bread at the store. I would not buy any bread at the store. I would be weary of things like enriched flour, bleached flour. I would only buy, first of all, this is going to be one of those things where I'm like, now I don't want to overwhelm people. I just did an episode with this amazing woman talking about how easy it is to mill your own flour. That sounds like a crazy step. It takes like 2 minutes to do. You just put seeds in a little blender, it blends up, boom, you have your fresh flour. She says doing this one simple step will radically change everyone in your family's health, from chronic disease to weight gain, all kinds of stuff. But if you absolutely refuse to go get a flour mill and mill your own flour, then you need to be buying organic flour at the store. You need to be having organic cane sugar, not refined sugar, things like that. All the baking goods really need to be organic. They are covered in glyphosate and all kinds of other problematic herbicides and pesticides and stuff like that. So that would be a huge thing that people don't think about.
Final question would be, what is something anything you want to leave with our audience? Is there one final message you love to give to people?
Yeah, I would say, the healthiest thing that you could do beyond any product or organic food is to have and spend time with family and friends and a church family that pour into you, that disciple you, that hold you accountable, that are mentoring you, your marriage, helping you when it comes to raising kids. That is one of the biggest burden lifters that we have that is so accessible and easy, and we don't think to do it. Checking in on your friends, saying like, hey, I'd love to bless you by babysitting your kids. If you're single listening to this, telling your friends, hey, I'm coming over, I'm gonna watch your kids, you and your husband are going out. And, having that back and forth of just thinking of others, being there for them in that community, that is a huge aspect of emotional health and relational health that gets overlooked, that is very easy for us to be able to be blessed and bless others with.
Well said. Well said. Well, where can we point people to? Where can they find all this stuff? I don't have all the, facts on where you can buy, this type of deodorant and that type of wheat and all that. Where can we send people?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at Real Alex Clark. I've got a highlight that has like coupon codes and stuff if you want discount codes and brands that I really like and trust. Frequently on my podcast, I'm talking about things that I like or am using, or my guests, I'll be like, what collagen powder do you like? And I just ask them that kind of stuff because I know people like to know brands and specifics. So any episode of my podcast, basically, you'll hear stuff like that. And my podcast is called Culture Apothecary. And you can listen to that anywhere you get your podcasts. You can watch it on Real Alex Clark on YouTube. And also, there are apps like Yucca, which you can scan products. There's an app I really like called Olive that you can use. Yeah. So there's different apps that can be helpful at the grocery store and navigating what to buy and what not to buy when it comes to personal care products and food products for your family.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for taking the time to join the show. And guys, thank you for listening. We will be back here next Tuesday at 5 a.m. That's when we release episodes. And I really appreciate you listening. Please make sure to like and maybe subscribe, maybe a review. I don't know. That's free. It helps a ton. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.